Hi, last time I talked about getting around using your car. Well, this time I'd like to talk about other means of transport. First, of course, is the bus. More and more buses are becoming accessible for disabled people. They often have a ramp that comes out. The driver can make the ramp come out and onto the pavement. And people with the stick don't have that awful step, and they can walk up into the bus, or you can go up in a wheelchair. But then, of course, you'll have to fight with the lady with the pushchair who's sitting in your space. But of course, there has been no rule in law now, and the driver can legally ask them to move. Secondly, of course, is the train. Very popular with disabled people, but you've got to plan ahead. And if you're in a wheelchair, have a ramp waiting for you to access as you get on. And of course, the station the other end has to know to have a ramp to let you get off. With the stick, of course, it is possible, but there is this big step to get up. But plan ahead. The toilets on board, there's usually a disabled toilet these days. They can be pretty dire, but they do work and they do allow people to get around. And it's very popular to get from one town to another using the train. The underground, especially in London, the District DLR Light Railway in East London is fully accessible by a wheelchair. I've tried it a number of times myself, and that's not a problem. The older network, some stations have been converted, but usually in London, I get around using Uber access vehicles these days. The black cabs are very expensive and they don't like stopping for wheelchairs. But Uber access, you can order them and there's usually no trouble there. Flying, well, you think they get it right, wouldn't you, after all these years? But they can't. It's pretty dire. I've been left on, well, I went to the States recently, to the east side, the East Coast, and I was left waiting a good hour and a half to get off the plane, and they told me they couldn't get a wheelchair down the aisle. And in the end, they offered me the emergency access wheelchair, which they carry on board. Well, it's like a tin tray on casters. And like a fool, I said yes, I'd use it. Well, two or three people behind me, one holding my feet, and then they crashed me off the plane, hurt my back dreadfully. And then, of course, my wheelchair wasn't waiting. And I had to go round and round, be pushed round and round the airport for about an hour and a half to find my wheelchair, which had to be taken through customs. It was awful. But and I went to Istanbul a few years ago, and there was so much pulling and pushing by the staff, the airport staff, of my wheelchair trying to get it to move, that they did between £2,000 and £3,000 worth of damage. But, you've got to get around. You've got to fly these days, and so you should too. So we've got to keep on to the airports to get it right. Good luck. And some companies now do disabled flying themselves, and it might be worth going with a company which specialises in disabled transport. Good luck and keep flying. That's the only way to get them to change. Bye.